and bring you amazing information on learning difficulties, dyslexia, anything that can help a child or a student or a teenager or a young adult or even an older adult learn to read and spell and to educate and entertain you a little bit, all about this amazing topic, which I am so passionate about. Well, today's Facebook Live is a little bit of a controversial one because the topic is who owns the word dyslexia. So let's get started. Who does own the word dyslexia? Is it the American-based International Dyslexia Association? Is it the London-based Dyslexia Association, or the BDA, the British Dyslexia Association? Is it all the people who work in visual processing? Is it the educational psychologists, the optometrists, the neurologists, or is it our teachers and educators? Who gets to say who has dibs on the term dyslexia? Does one dyslexia words? It's a Greek origin word, and that's where it comes from. So then you have to say, well, is it neurological? Is it visual? Is it phonetic? Is it a brain processing problem? Is it a learning difficulty, a difference, a disability, or is it a bonus to have something like dyslexia or a learning difficulty just like dyslexia? So if your child is struggling to learn to read and spell and is losing self-confidence as a result, they may have dyslexia. And it's true that depending on an academic's area of expertise, their career choices and the way in which they obtain funding or earn their wages, it's going to determine what they want the term dyslexia to be perceived as by educational authorities, governments, and the masses, because that is how their funding works. They do research projects, and if they use terms like dyslexia, which generate quite a bit of emotion, as we all know, then those terminologies, they actually attract funding. So that gets back to, what is dyslexia? Is it visual, phonological? Is it any of those things? Who gets to decide? So if we think now back to the whole beginning of this, it all started with a child at school who was struggling to learn to read. So the parent of that child, they are only concerned about one thing, and that is their child's struggle. Because when a child is feeling pain and is losing their self-confidence, that's when a parent starts to feel their pain too, because the two are directly linked, as you know. So imagine, if you will, I'm sure some of you can, if you have a child who starts school full of enthusiasm for learning and excited to get started, but after a few short years, or sometimes even months, that child starts to show severe signs of anxiety and they spiral downhill with psychological issues. I know this firsthand because I've actually been there with all three of my children. So here's the order of events. This is how it works. Your child starts to struggle to learn. The parent, you or me, goes up to the school to seek help. The teacher, who's not trained, doesn't really know what to say or what to do or even what to advise. The parent becomes frustrated because there's a general lack of support. This isn't true of all teachers. This is a general statement. The child's struggle deepens or gets worse. The parent starts looking outside the school system for help, and they start trying to find solutions for their child. A, what is causing my child's struggle? And B, what can I do about it? Now, at this stage, they might start to hear the word dyslexia if that child is starting to struggle with reading and spelling at school. And depending on which country you are in, that may determine if the word dyslexia is used or not. I've just had word from some parents in Scotland that currently the word dyslexia is completely out of vogue there, and teachers are not allowed to use the term dyslexia, which really amazes me because Dr. Gavin Reid, who comes from Scotland, has been such a staunch advocate for those with dyslexia there. So I'm a bit surprised that they've gone backwards with someone like him pushing things forward. So this whole scenario leaves a lot of confusion. Does my child have dyslexia? Doesn't my child have dyslexia? Who gets to decide which educational authority, which academic? And you can see it all ends up in this massive can of worms. What you as parents and teachers need to be aware of is that what your education system states and which learning difficulties academics in your state or region have the most funding and the loudest voice where you live is going to determine what the term dyslexia means for you and your child. Government legislation will also determine who pays for your child's diagnosis. Is it the school and educational authority or is it you as the parent? In my situation, I ended up paying for all three of my children's diagnosis, and I went privately because it wasn't offered here in Australia. But I know some states of America, they do offer that, and in some parts of the UK, they do as well. This also determines just how well your state and your region's educational authorities are set up to support your child and if they're likely to succeed or not within your school system. In many countries, sometimes the only way to get support and assistance is with a diagnosis of a specific learning difficulty, which is also called an SPLD or dyslexia. So parents need to learn about this whole system in order to make this happen. Now, here are two of my favourite definitions of dyslexia to help you on your journey. And if you want to see some more definitions of dyslexia, then please look on this website, dyslexiadaily.com, and there's lots of information in free ebooks on different versions of dyslexia, depending on, of course, who's written them and what their agendas are. So this one was written by Dr. Gavin Reid. I just mentioned him and his wife, Shannon Green, who reside, I believe, in America now, but are from Scotland. And it says, dyslexia is a processing difference experienced by people of all ages. Often characterised by difficulties in literacy, it can affect other cognitive areas such as memory, speed of processing, time management, coordination, and directional aspects. There may be visual and phonological difficulties, and there is usually some discrepancy in performance in other areas. Since these will affect, in other areas of learning. It is important that individual differences and learning styles are acknowledged, since these will affect the outcomes of learning and assessment. It's also important to consider the learning and work context. Is the nature of the difficulties associated with dyslexia may well be more pronounced in some situations. So that's Gavin Reid's. Here's a new one that I came across this week, and I love this one especially. It's written by Sherry Ray, who wrote the book Dyslexia Land, and it says, dyslexia is a specific learning ability, neurological in origin. It is typically characterised by strengths that may include creative expression, athletic performance, and scientific discovery. The individual with dyslexia often exhibits strengths in big picture concepts, thinking outside the box, making unexpected connections, and demonstrates an intuitive sense of understanding people and navigating the natural world. How good is that, Sherry Ray? I absolutely love that. So to learn more about what dyslexia is or isn't, you can read my book, Helping Children with Dyslexia. You may very well find it in your local library, and you will also find an audio that comes with it as well. You might find it on Amazon because I know it's there, or you can also go online at www.dyslexiadaily.com, dyslexiadaily.com, which is the website that's attached to this Facebook page. So the other thing you need to know is that we are now on Instagram. So if you are on Instagram, we would love to have you come and join us there. So look for dyslexia.daily. That's what you need to look for to find us. And you will find all of our information, our blogs, our memes, our quotes, everything there too. So I hope you have a great day. Here's to you and your child's success. And I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. I can't wait. So it's great to be back. And I hope you are back into it and having a great time too. Okay, bye for now.